Hey, hi everyone. This is Sai from LetsUpgrade. So let's talk about how to get your certificate. It's very simple. You will see two links in the description. Number one is the place where you have to go and mark your attendance. Marking your attendance tells us like, okay, you are a legit student who have attended this particular session. Link number two is your assignment. This is where your 90% of the priority is. You have to go and submit the assignment that is given to you in this particular session. Once you're done submitting that assignment, we will be evaluating that. We will send you an email. If you get the passing criteria, then only we will give you the certificate on a particular date that is mentioned again in the description. Please check these three things, and this is the way how you will get a certificate from Let's Upgrade. Number one, mark your attendance. Number two, just go ahead and upload your assignment. Check for the email that you have received it, yes or no. What is the feedback that you have received from your trainer? Number three, check on which date the certificates will be released. Thank you. Bye. All the best. Happy learning.
Hi, welcome back everyone on this third session on our Node.js Bootcamp. So in this particular session, we are going to cover about what are REST APIs, and we'll be going to create REST APIs using Express. Okay, so Express is another package that is provided by NPM. So we actually use it in Node.js to make our jobs easier. Okay, so Express provides a lot of flexibility in writing code, so that is why we make use of Express JS. Okay, so it's nothing, it's just a library, and it's a package that is available using npm. You can install it, it's simple, no need to worry about it. So today's session is going to be very exciting because it's all about creating apis. So apis are the actual things that you use daily in real life, like whatever happens in a particular application happens due to APIs. Like what happens, your front end sends an API request to your backend server, and your backend server like sends a response back to your front end application and represents the data. Okay, so now coming to what are REST APIs. So REST is nothing but representational state transfer. So we'll be going to create REST APIs. So I'll tell you like in depth what are REST APIs and what are the advantages of using REST APIs. Okay, so now let's quickly jump into the like coding part of it without wasting much time. So first thing, that is like what is Express.js. That is what I'm going to explain you guys. So as I told you, it's a package that is available through npm. Okay, so this was our code which we were doing in our last session. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all this code since we don't require it anymore. We'll be starting afresh using Express. We'll be creating our own server using Express. Okay, so we don't need it at all. This index.html also I don't need it. Hello.txt also I don't need it. Okay, that's it. So now before starting, what I need to do, I need to install Express first of all. So how to install Express? If you remember, we had the simple command npm install followed by the package name. So since in our case it's Express now, so we'll simply write npm install Express. I already have it installed, but still no problem, I'll install it again. That's not an issue. Okay, so how to let it install first? Taking some time. Okay, it's installed now. Okay, so now how to use Express? So const Express, again, if you remember, we made use of the require keyword, right, in our very first session. Express, so we require our Express using a require keyword, require Express. Okay, so now we'll instantiate Express using any variable you can use. I prefer using app. So Yes. Yeah. After that, what we are going to do is, now we have instantiated Express into our app. So now app is an object which contains all the functions that are provided by our Express library. Okay. So now the first thing that we need to do is to start our server. So if you remember, using HTTP, we used to create our server and then used to listen to it, right? So here we do not need to like create our server. Here we can simply start listening to it. So app.listen, and we just pass our port, so let's say 8080 only, and here we'll just write an error callback and we'll check. If error, then simply console.log error. Okay, otherwise console.log server started successfully at port 8080. Okay, So that's it. So this will initialize and start our very basic server using Express. Okay, it's the same which you used to do using http module, but it's just that Express made our work easier by removing that part. Like if you remember, using http we used to have it like this, right? Server is equal to http dot create server, if you remember, uh, which you should actually, okay, if you have practiced whatever I taught you in the first two sessions. So like this, we used to first of all create the server, and then we used to server.listen. Okay, this was the way we were doing, and then we were passing the port, and then again an error callback we were passing, and then we were logging, right? So this was the two-step process which we were following for creating a simple server, http server. But now I have created using only a single command, that is app.listen, and we are listening to it. So that's it. Okay, so now let's quickly check if it works or not. So I'll remove this part of code. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to start my code. So let's go back over here and close this one. Okay, and let's start here. So node index.js. Okay, so it says server started successfully at port 8080. So now let's navigate back to our browser and check what happens at port 8080. Okay, so when we open this, it says cannot get forward slash. Why? Because we haven't written any endpoints yet. Okay, we haven't written any get endpoint yet or get API yet. Okay, so now I hope this is clear. Like this is very simple. So we have started our own server. So if this would have not been running, then you know, right, what we would have got. Like if I close it and if I refresh this, you will get this site cannot be reached. But if I start my server here, and if I refresh this page, I'll get simple cannot get. Okay, so that means our server is up and running and it is listening for requests. So now let's start writing our basic get API. So get, as the name suggests, a get API is used for writing an API that will return us some data, right? Return us some data, or basically which is used to get some data from server. Okay, so we are going to simply write a get API which is going to bring us some data from the server, right? So how we can write it? Simply app.get. So app supports get function also. Okay, so as I told you, app is an object and it is supporting various functions, right? So get is one of the functions. So app.get followed by the endpoint. Okay, so the endpoint on which, like if you remember in http we used to check the urls every time, but here we do not need to check the urls, we just need to provide the endpoints. So let's say I want to like fetch some data. Let's say get users. Okay, users. So that's my endpoint I want to create. Okay, so here I am taking in a function, callback function, and it is going to take request and response as the two parameters. And in the function, what we are going to do, we'll do some operations on the request, and finally response dot send. Okay, so in the send we can send any kind of data, whether it be JSON or whether it be normal text, anything. Okay, so here is the list of users. So right now I'm not adding any users. You can write it, no, that's not a problem, or not a typical task. Okay, so that's it. So I have created a endpoint to get the list of users, and I have simply sent the response. Okay, so that's it. Now let's quickly start our server. I've closed it and restarted it. Now let's go back and refresh. Okay, so now like we have still it is showing this because at this endpoint we don't have anything, but at slash users we have something. So let's click on it. Okay, so if you navigate to slash users, so you see here is the list of users. So instead of text, if you would have, if you had a list of like users, so let me create an object called users. So it will be an array of object. I'm thinking to create an array of object. Okay, fine. So it will have multiple users. So let me do one thing. Let me copy this some sample data from somewhere. Okay, so users object sample. Okay, so it has given me simple, but let's uh, okay, actually, like there is a website which is used for fake APIs. Like, so I don't remember its name. JSON placeholder, yeah. So JSON placeholder gives us some APIs. Okay, so there I have. Okay, so slash users. So let's say we'll copy this entire data. Okay, So we'll try to replicate this entire data in our backend. So what I'll do is const users is equal to, I'll just replace this. Okay, so all my users are ready. So now in this, what I'll do is response dot status. Again, one thing that I'm going to send over here is status. So status, like if you know, like whenever you receive a response from an API, the status can be either equal to 200, 201, 202, 404, 400, 500. Okay, so different status codes are there depending on the type of response you are sending. So if it is all good, if it is okay response, then you send 200. If there is an internal server error, you send 500 response. If it's a bad request, you send 400 response. So like that, different kind of, or 404 for page not found. So all those things are different kind of response that you can send, response codes basically. So here I am sending users as the entire array. Okay, so that's it. Now let's quickly restart server. Okay, now let's get back and let's refresh this endpoint. Okay, so you see we got an entire array of all the object, user object. Okay, so if you click on pretty print, it will like show you properly. Okay, so all the user data you got it, right? So this is basically what I was referring to when I was telling you about REST API. So why this is a REST API? Because it gave you the state of the particular user object at that particular time when you asked for it. So instead of giving an entire web page or anything, it gave you just the data you wanted. So that is why these APIs are known as REST API. So it gives you the representational state transfer. Whatever state of that object was at that time, it transferred you exactly like that. Okay, so that is why this is very important, like why this is known as a REST API. So as we have get, similarly we have post, similarly we have put, and similarly we have delete. So the four operations, the four basic operations that we have are, which are known as CRUD operations, and which are create, read, update, and delete. So how do we do them? Using, so for creating we have post, for reading we have get, for updating we have put, okay, and for deleting we have delete. So these are the four kind of like APIs that you can create using express. Okay, so post, get, put, and delete. Okay, so I have already covered get over here. Now let's quickly move ahead and start with a post API. So like I think this is clear. I have few things more, like let's say if you want to like get the details of a particular user, how you can do that. So we'll cover that. First let me just like cover the basics of all the different kind of APIs. So app.post. Okay, so let's say you want to add a new user. Okay, so user. Okay, so you want to create a new user basically. So request comma response. Okay, it's a simple function. So where will your user come in? It will come in your request body. So sorry, request dot body dot user. Okay, so request dot body will carry the user, and that is what you are going to use to create a new user. So here I am not like currently adding a new user to any database or anything. So what I'm going to do, response dot status 201. 201 is basically for created. If I'm not wrong, it's for created only. Let's see, it should give us some hints, but response dot status 201. Okay, it's not giving us hint, no problem. Okay, dot send, and the user exact user which I have created, I'll be sending that back to the server, to the front end. Okay, so let's how to test it. Now comes an important question, how to test a post API. Okay, a post API cannot be tested through a browser, because a browser cannot send the request body. Okay, so we need something. So a tool for that we use is Postman. Okay, so Postman is a tool that you can use for testing APIs. So Postman download, so you can simply search for Postman and download it. So you can simply go to this link, and depending on your OS you will get the download button over here, and you can download it. I already have it installed, so I'll just open it quickly. Okay, so here is my Postman, where I'll be testing my APIs. So let me do one thing, let me quickly restart my server. Okay, so my server is restarted. So let's go back to Postman, and let's start a new request. So it's a post request. Okay, and the URL is http localhost 8080, okay, slash user. If you remember, the post endpoint that I have created is slash user, okay. Don't get confused, the get endpoint that I had created was slash users. The post endpoint I have created is slash user without an extra s at the end, okay, right. So now coming back, so what I need to do here is like I need to send some body, okay. So raw, and the type I want to send is JSON, okay. So because since I'm creating a new user, so I'll create like I'll send the field similar to this one, because I don't want to change anything. So let me quickly see. Okay, so it's this is the complete object that we have. Okay, so I'll change some data over here and send. Okay, so let's say ID, they have sent a list of how many users, around 10, right? So I'm going to create a 11th user, okay, 11th, and let's say Akshay uh, Rathore, okay, and username AK Rathore, okay, like this. Similarly, email and ID and all these things you can change, okay. I'm not changing all these things. So that's it. So now if you will send again, okay, so I know that this is going to give you an error. I'll tell you why. So if I'll send it, now it's not going to give you an error, but it's not going to do the actions that it is supposed to. I'll tell you why. Okay, so if I send, okay, so you got an error actually. So why it happened, and it said cannot read properties of undefined, okay. So here also you got an error, okay. So why this happened, cannot use read properties of undefined reading user. So why it happened, because by default express cannot read JSON, okay. So you need to make sure that you make use of a middleware to in order to allow express to be able to read JSON, okay. JSON is nothing but an object notation, so JavaScript object notation. So this is a plain object, right, that I'm sending. So by default Node.js or Express is not able to read JavaScript object notation on JSON object, okay. So for that we need to make use of a middleware which is known as express.json, okay. So that's it. So once you put this code, your JavaScript will be enabled to your Express will be enabled to read JSON, okay. Now I start it, okay. Now I go back to Postman and let's start. Okay, I sent it, okay. So what is the response? 201 created. I didn't receive anything here. Let me see what went wrong. Why I didn't get anything back. Am I doing something wrong? Let's come back over here. We are sending something, right? Response.status 201.send user. We should have got the user object back, but I don't see it over here. What happened? Let me try and check it. I think it's let's quickly do one thing. Okay, I got it. Actually, I'm trying to like access request.body.user, right? But I'm not telling it that it's a specific user object. So either I can do one thing, user, and I can put it in double quotes, and then I can put it like this. Then it should work. Okay, so now if I send, now it should work. Let's try. Okay, so you see now I got the entire student user object back, okay. So why was it happening? If you try to understand, I was trying to access property request.body.user, but when I was sending, I was directly sending without user the entire body, okay. So either I can fix like this, otherwise I can do what, I can remove this user, send it like this, but from my code I just want to access request.body instead of user, okay. So I can do it like this, okay. It's same thing, it will fix the same issue. So now let's restart our server and let's try again. Okay, so you see now this way also it is fixed, okay. So no issues in this. So that is what I was telling, like now we were able to create a post API where we are able to send some data from our front end to our backend server, Okay, so this is nothing but our front end, right? Like let's say you are creating a form on your HTML page, so you'll be sending the data to the backend like this only. So you'll be calling a particular URL from your backend, from your front end JavaScript, and you'll be sending the data like this. Okay, so it will be received by your backend, and here you can do operations on it, such as like storing it on the database, comparing it with something or anything. Okay, so this is your simple post API that you have created. Okay, so now let's move ahead and create a put API. So put API is very similar to post API. It's just that it will just update the user data. Okay, so I'll give the same endpoint. There is no issues since we will be using app like either get, post or put na. So it will automatically understand. Okay, request response. Okay, so it will be again similar, like you will just get the request.body. Okay, you will just update your user. So do some changes to existing user. Okay, and then response.status 201 only, and send back the user. Okay, so simple. That's a simple put API. It's nothing but editing your existing user. So for that, first you like for that you need to first find na. So you can do one thing. Let's we have our users object already over there. So I'm going to find a particular user. So by the ID. Okay. So how I can find it? Simple. I need to write some logic for that. So I can do is users. For this you should be aware of this map filter operations in JavaScript using filter, right? Array operations using map and filter and all those things. Okay, so lm, so I just want to check lm.id equals to user.id. Okay, so just give me that particular user. Okay, so sorry, so this will give me a user const found user is equal to this, right? And simply I'll be sending found user. Okay, so now let's try to find some user with ID, let's say 3. Okay, so now let's quickly start our server. Okay, and here let's create a new endpoint, and that will be same but put. Okay, so put, and here I'll write that, and in the body I'll be giving it as raw JSON. Okay, and I'll be using the same but ID as 3. Let's go back over here, let's copy it. Okay, so I'm just finding by ID na, so I don't care like what other data is there. Okay, so ID 3. So now let's send and see what happens. Okay, so you see we got the response. So we found the user with the ID 3. So ID 3 was Clementine Bosch. So let's see if this is the correct thing, like was it correct? ID 1 was this, ID 2 was this. Let's come to ID3. Okay, so ID3 is Clementine Bosch only. Okay, so we were able to find the user, correct user, on sending some data from our front end. We just send the ID, correct ID from our front end, and we were able to find the correct user from our back end and send it back to the front end, right? So instead of like finding and sending it back, we can do some changes into it and send the proper response, like yes, like your changes to the username was successful, or address change was successful, or whatever. Okay, so these things you can do using the put API, right? It's simple, right? You just used the put and use the same API endpoint. Okay, so that's not very tough, I hope so. Okay, so now the next thing that we have is the delete API. So now let's quickly write the app.delete. Okay, and again the endpoint that I'm using is user only, because I'm going to delete a user. So let's say you want to remove a particular user from the database. So how you can do that? Simply again you can find that user like this. Okay, find that user like this, and then you can like simply delete it. So what you can do, like found user, like delete users apart from deleted user, right? So other left users, like what all users are left after deleting, is equal to filter where element.id, like the id which will not be equal to the user id which you wanted to delete. Okay, so let's say you wanted to delete the user with id 5. Okay, so right now if you see, the user with id 5 is Chelsea Dietrich. Okay, So let's say you want to delete this user. So what you will do is simply now response.status. I don't know, like I'll give it 200 only and send. Okay, so the user which you wish to delete, okay, left users I'll be. Okay, so that's it. Our API is now ready. Let's quickly rerun our server and check it. Okay, so now if you want to check the delete API, you can simply go over here, delete URL body raw. Okay, so simply I can send the ID only, no problem with that, because we are searching by ID only. So I was going to delete the person with ID 5, right? Okay, so now let's send it. Okay, so you see we got some response 200 okay status. So if you see the ID 5% should not be here. So ID 1 is there. Okay, I see ID 5 is also here. So something wrong we did. Let me just quickly see our logic, and depending on that, let's see. So user.filter where element.id is not equal to user.id. So request.body.id. Okay. So left users dot filter. Okay. Let me just quickly like kind of debug it. So console.log user.id. Let me check what we are getting over here when we send this request. So if I send, okay, I see it's coming as undefined. Oh, okay, again, my bad. So it should not be user.id, it should be user only, because that will all automatically, uh, here we are trying to fetch user.id, right? So user is our complete object. User is this complete object. So user.id we are trying to find over here. So that was my bad. So I'll just quickly fix it. Okay, now it will work. So now let's try. So again, now I'll send the user with ID 5. I want to delete it. Okay, so we got status 200. So let's see if user 5 is there. 7, 6. Oh, still 5 is there. Okay. Okay, let's try again. Let's see what is going wrong over here. User. Okay. Let's refresh it and let's send the command again. Okay, it's coming as empty brackets. User is coming as empty brackets. Why? Request.body. Okay. Okay. Sorry, my bad. Hi. Here I selected text. It should be JSON, right? We are sending JSON data. Okay, it was my bad. So I'll just quickly now this time it will work. If I'll send it, you will see that ID 5 should not be there. 3, 4. Okay. So you this time you see ID 6 is there, and if I scroll up, ID 4 is there. No ID 5 is there. Okay, so like kind of I'm trying to imitate the deletion, but it's not exactly deleting, it is just giving me other users apart from ID 5. Okay, so this is how you write delete API, basically like a delete endpoint. I'm not talking about the logic that I'm writing over here, it is just the API endpoint that I'm writing over here. Okay, so I hope this is clear, like the four types of API endpoints are clear to you guys. Mm, if it is clear, now I'll move ahead with how to like now you have seen how to access the like request.body in the put, post and delete APIs. But now coming to .get API, let's say I want to get a particular user, so how will I write that particular API? So for that it's very simple. Simple app.get. Okay, so slash user slash let's say it will be some name. Okay, so name or ID. Okay, let's say I want to get it by ID. Okay, so ID comma request comma response. Okay, so that same logic I am going to write const found user, find user. User is equal to users dot filter lm where element is equal to dot id equals to id. Okay, so how will be able to get id? So for that, const id is equal to request dot params dot id. Okay, so how I'm able to refer, because here in the endpoint itself I am describing that I'll be sending some id. Okay, and request dot parameters dot id, that is what I'm trying to find. Okay, and lm dot id will be id. Okay, so response dot status 200 dot send. Okay, find user. and actually it will be an array, so I'm sending the 0th element of that array. Okay, every time like this is going to return an array, right? So I'm just going to return an object of that particular user. That's it. So now let's quickly do this and index.js. Okay, so now let's go back and like create another get API. So I'll just copy this. Where is my get API? Okay, no problem, I'll write it again. HTTP localhost 8080 slash user slash, let's say id I'm sending as 9 or 7. Okay, so I want the data of the user with the id 7. So now let's try it. So here I don't need to give any body or anything, I'll simply send. Okay, I did not get anything. Again I need to check what I did wrong. Maybe I'm actually, this can be tested using browser also. I'll show you guys. So I'm going to get user.id request response request.params.id where lm.id is equal to id. Okay, let's quickly debug it. So again I'll try to console.log. I want to see like what I am basically getting in the id when I'm trying to make this request. Okay, so now let's quickly send. Okay, so I got the id as 7, but I'm not getting any data for users. My users object is this only, right? Users dot id is equal to 7. 7 object is this one. Okay, let's see what is the output I'm getting for this operation, find user. Okay, now let's restart it. Now let's go back and hit it again. It's giving me an empty array. Filter lm.id is equal to id. Why this is not giving me the correct string? I realize this id actually may be coming in the form of a string. Like this will return it in the form of a string. So what I can do is, instead of triple equating, I'll just double equate it and test. If it works, that means my assumption is correct. So let's quickly try. Okay. So yeah, my assumption was correct. Actually, what was happening, like when I'm trying to access the ID in this way, right, it is taking this like the ID 7 as a string. So it is trying to compare string and a number which is here in the user's object. So that is why it was not giving us the correct result. So what I can do is, instead of this, I can do parseInt. So there is one thing which is known as parseInt. So it will convert the string into a number. So this will be string, but here it will convert it into number, and here I'll put double equal to, and I'll remove the console.log that I had added for debugging. Okay, so that's it. Now let's quickly restart our server and test. Okay, so now let's test it. Okay, it works perfectly. So now this API can be run on your browser also. So for a particular user 7, you can get the details. So instead of 7, if you have 1 also, you'll get the ID 1 details. If you have some other, let's say 10, okay, so you'll get the ID 10 details. Okay, so now one thing, let's say we have some ID, what will happen? You will get nothing. Okay, so no error, but you won't be getting anything over here, right, on the screen, because there is no user with the id. So for that also, such cases you should handle over here. So how you can handle? You can simply say if find user dot length equal to 0. Like if the array length is 0, then do what? Response dot status 204, I guess it is, I'm not sure, but yeah, dot send message user not found. That's it. Okay, else do this. Okay, find user in the array. Okay, that's it. Okay, now let's quickly test it. Now if you just refresh it, okay, it seems not to be working. User not found. Dot length, find user dot length would be 0. 1 minute, let's just do one thing. Console.log find user and save it. Let me just try to run it again. Okay, let's refresh Okay, it gave us empty array only, so our condition should be correct only. Then why? Okay, maybe status is wrong. I'm not sure, but let's try. Status code might be wrong. Okay, yeah. So status code was wrong. So that is why we were getting that error. No, we were not getting anything. So message user was not found. Okay, so this is how we handled the case when there is no user present. Okay, so I'm not sure like which status code we give for that purpose. You can check it and update it accordingly. Okay, so this is about our how to use using request.params. Okay, so request.params, similarly there is one way to use query parameters. So let's check, let's create that also. So app.get/user followed by if I 1 minute, yes, so I think I'll need to check it because I'm not very sure. I'm getting confused out of in this. So const id is equal to request dot query dot id. Okay, so first of all I'll check if this works or not. Console dot log id. Okay, so slash user question mark id is equal, okay, so let's test if this particular api endpoint works or not perfectly. So let's go over here. So localhost 8080 slash user question mark id is equal to 3. Let's click. Okay, so we got 3 over here, right? But since we haven't sent any response, it is continuously revolving because we haven't sent any response, right? So this is one way to access your query parameters. Like in the query, you have just added the ID is equal to 3, right? So now you can again use the same logic. Const find user. I'll remove this console.log from here. I'll just copy this and I'll put it over here, right? That's it, simple. Now control C, index.js, okay, and try to, okay, I am getting id is equal to 3, user not found. Why so? uh, okay, again I am using a request, so I need to parse int and put it over here like this. Okay, now let's restart server. Let's retry. Okay, so we got the id3 user, right? So instead of this we can find any other user, let's say id7. Okay, so id7 also you got. Okay, so this is again our endpoint that we have created to find the users based on the query parameters. So you would see the difference between this and this endpoint, right? This is user followed by slash id. This is user question mark id is equal to something. So these are the two ways you can use for like getting the user inputs and finding the data depending on that. Okay, so I think now you guys are familiar with creating api endpoints and using them for fetching the data from your database, from your backend. Okay, so it's quite simple. It's just about practice. When you start practicing it, you will get it. Okay, it's not very tough. Okay, so now till now we have covered about the REST APIs, setting up route routes. Okay, so now let's start with our project. Okay, so we'll simply create a task management REST API. It will help you to add a new task, retrieve all task, update a task, delete a task. Okay, so like till now we have done all the operations for a user, right? Similarly we'll do for a task. Okay, so that's it, what we'll be doing in our project. So let's quickly start with the project work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file. Okay, enough of doing in the same file. So I'll call it javascript and save it. So on the desktop I'll call it task.js. Okay, so if I'll be reiterating while doing all this stuff, I'll be reiterating what I did in the starting of this class. So const express is equal to require. First of all you need to require express. Okay, then const app, you'll instantiate app using express. Okay, then app.use, don't forget to use express.json, otherwise you will not be able to do operations on json format. Okay, app.listen, so listen on port 8080 and error. If error, console.log error. Okay, otherwise console.log server started successfully. Okay, that's it. So our simple file is ready. I'll close this one, right? Okay, so our simple server is ready now. Okay, so now let's start with the project work. So the project says that we need to create an API for the task thing. Okay, So for that, let me think. Okay, so first, before starting it, let me think how does a task management application to look should look. Okay, so how should a task should look? So I'm creating an object of task. So it should have an ID. So ID is equal ID. Okay. Then we should have title, title of a task, like what you need to do. Okay, and then we should have is completed, true or false. Okay, so this is how our task is going to look like. So I'm going to create a task array. Since we are not using any database over in this bootcamp, so what I'm going to do, I'm simply going to take a task array. So I'm keeping it as empty array initially. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'll create task in this format and keep on inserting over here. Okay, so let's write our simplest API to create a new task. So app.post and also ID. So every time a new task is inserted, the ID should be increased. So let's say I'm going to take const current ID is equal to 0. Okay, so every time a new task is added, it will be incremented automatically. So task app.post, I'm giving simple endpoint uh, slash task. Okay, request response. Okay, so whenever I need to create a new task, what I'll do, const task is equal to request dot body, right? I'll be sending the task in this manner. Okay, so now next thing is I need to add this particular task. So the task will be I'm going to add this task array. So one thing, okay, so ID, I'll not be bringing the ID from our front end. I'll be just bringing title. Okay, also is completed, this I actually have created to show you, but what I'll be bringing in the task is title only, because these two things I'll is completed will be updated through the put API, but initially it will be false only. When you just add a task, it will be like not completed state only, like false only. Okay, so okay, so const create task is equal to id would be equal to plus plus of current id. Whatever current id is there, it will be plus plus incremented. Okay, then id, then title. So title would be task dot title. Okay, is completed would be false initially. Okay, so this is my create task. Okay, so const push task, like simply what I'll do is tasks dot push create task. Okay, so response dot status 200 dot send. So if my logic is correct, this, and I'll be sending task back. Okay, either I can send the new task actually, instead of the whole task I'll send create task. Okay, that's it. So our simplest post API to like create a task is ready. So what I am doing over here, I am taking the uh, title from the request, like from the front end. I am creating a task object which has ID. So ID will be plus plus of current ID. So current ID I have taken 0 initially. Every time a new post request come, it will be incremented automatically. Title I'll take from task.title, whatever I'm sending from the front end is completed, I'll take initially as false. Okay, so that's it. So after that, I'm like pushing this into the task array. I'm pushing the create task object into the task array, and finally I'm sending the create task object to back to my front end. Okay, so that's it. Let's quickly start it. So I'll call it node task Node.js. Okay, I see some error. ID. Okay, sorry, I should comment it. This thing I have just used for explaining purposes. Okay, so server started successfully. So now let's test our basic API. So post API. So I'll delete the, like I'll update this, and since it's a post API and we are using task slash task only, right? Slash task only. So I'm expecting in the request body, I'm going to send only one thing, that is title. So title I'm sending. Okay, so let's say uh, install Node.js. So that is my first task that I need to do. Okay, fine. So I'm just going to send this. So let's see what happens. Okay, I got an error. Assignment to constant. Sorry. I think I did something wrong over here. Okay, so the current ID I'm like incrementing, right? So I should not take it as const over here. Okay, so that's why one thing there was. Another thing, const create task is equal to title task dot title. I think everything else is fine only. Let's quickly check. Let's try again. Okay, so I got my task object. That means my task is saved into the system. Okay, so but actually, like every time I'll rerun my server, na, my task will get refreshed. So how can I check? Actually, let me do one thing. Let me create the get endpoint also quickly. So app.get tasks. Okay, so simple, it will request response. It will give me a list of all the tasks. So response dot status 200 dot send uh, tasks. Entire tasks array I'm receiving over here, right? So now what I'll do, firstly I'll send this. Okay, so I install Node.js should be there, and now here I'll navigate over here, localhost 8080 slash tasks. Okay, so you see id1 title install node.js is completed false is there. Okay, so now let's quickly add another task. So the title this time is write hello world in node.js. Okay, right, so I'm sending another task. So let's see this time. Okay, so you see automatically the id has become 2. Okay, and let's go back and refresh this. Okay, so you see now two tasks are there, id1 and id2. Write hello world install node.js is completed as false in both the cases. Now let's quickly add another learn about express, no, learn about npm. Okay, I'll send it. So this time id is equal to 3. Okay, so now if I'll refresh and pretty print, see three tasks have been added, right, in my task array, right? So this is how you can create a simple task application where you can just put in tasks, add more tasks, and retrieve all the tasks. What other things we had to do over here is like edit a task. Okay, so let's make use of our put application. So app.put. So what I want to do is I just the task. Okay, so request comma response. Okay, so const id, so depending on the id only, and request percent, sorry, this should not be the percent since we are not taking it from the url. So request dot body right, request.body in the put api will be sending the request.body only. Okay, and request.body.id actually will be sending two things, id and is completed. So const is completed. Okay, so what I will do is first of all I'll find it in the task. So how to find, const is equal to tasks dot filter. Actually, like there is a find operation also, but I'm using this only, lm, where lm dot id equals to id. Okay, so this will give me the task. So find task, what I need to do is find task at 0 dot is completed equals to is completed. I'll update it. Okay, so response dot status 200 dot send find task at 0. So the status should be, or instead of this I'll send the entire tasks. But one second, let me think if the task array would be updated or not. No, it will not alter the existing array, I guess. um, okay, let's write some other logic. Actually, I'll write a logic in order to update the existing tasks array. Okay, so task.filter.id. Okay, so find and update task is equal to task dot let's do the map filter. Let me think. This one. So instead of this, what I can do to modify the existing array, na, I'll make use of for each. So tasks dot for each lm if lm dot id equals to id. Okay, so do what? lm dot is completed equals to is completed. Okay, so that's it. So this should modify the existing task. So now my put API is also ready. Now let's test it. Okay, so first of all, now if I'll find all, it will give me nothing because I have restarted my server. Obviously there is no data. So first thing I'll add over here is, again I'll undo install Node.js. Okay, so one is created, two is created, 3 is created. Okay, so now if I'll refresh this, I should get all the 3. So now let's try to update the 1 2 is completed to true. Okay, so how I can do that? I'll create a put API. So put API http localhost 8080/task and body raw json, and I'll put two things, id and so let's say id I'm sending one, and other thing that I want to send is completed. So is completed I want to send as true. So I want to update this. Okay, so now let's try. If I'm correct, it should work. Okay, so now you see id1 has been updated to is completed to true, others are false. So let's try here. So you see is completed for id1 has become true. Okay, for others it is still false. Now let's try id2. id2, let's send. Okay, so now you see id2 also has become true, is completed true. Let's refresh this and pretty print. Okay, so it's true. Okay, so if you want you can change it back to false. So for id2 I want to make it back to false. I haven't completed this task. Okay, so make it false. I'll refresh this. So see, it's again have become false. So our put API is also working fine, right? So our put API is updating the tasks, and like it is telling like which has been updated. So yeah, that works fine. So now our last operation would be to delete a task. So app.delete, again it will be very simple. Task, again request response. So what I'll do is const id is equal to request dot body. Okay, so simple. If you know, array has a function pop. So app dot pop, task dot pop, where the id is so which thing we have to pop, like where the id is equal to request dot body dot id, right? So how can I do that? Okay, which element is that? Okay, so let me think. Okay, so first of all I need to find task is equal to tasks dot filter lm dot id equal to id, right? And it's 0th instance because I just want to find task, and whatever task I found, okay, and just pop it out. Okay, and then response dot status 200 dot send task. Okay, so fine, our API is again ready. Now let's quickly restart and check. Okay, so again we'll have to add the task because since we are not using any database, so the data does not persist. So where was our post? Yeah. Install Node.js. Okay, one is done, two is done, three is done. Okay, so three tasks are there. So let's refresh. Yeah, all the three tasks are there. Okay, so now let's remove the third task. So again I'll create a delete API, copy this task, and I'll copy this. But here we need only id, but no problem if we have is completed also, no issues, but it's better to remove it. Okay, so let's say I want to remove which one, right? Hello world, let's say I want to remove the one with the id 2. Let's end it. Okay, so you see we got these two. Now let's refresh this. Okay, so you see id 3 has gone. 1 minute. No, something is wrong. No, id 2 I wanted to delete, right? But I see id 3 has gone. So okay, sorry, pop does sorry, my bad. Actually pop removes the like last element from the array. It does not remove the specific element. Okay, so for removing a specific element, we need to find the index of the found element, right? So found task is this. So instead of this, 1 minute. What we'll do is task dot index of 1 minute. Dot index of will be using or better. This is correct. Find task. Okay, so const index is equal to task dot index of find task. Okay, fine. And then task dot splice. Okay, so index comma 1. Okay, one element. So this should work. Yeah, actually, like first I'll find the index of that element, index of that element in the entire task, and then I'll splice the array. I'll remove that particular element, and I'll in the response I'll send back the entire array. So let's try again. Let's go back over here and let's quickly create again the tasks. The first one is install Node.js, created. Right, hello world and Node.js created. Learn about npm created. Okay, so these three have been created. Now I'll refresh. Okay, so I have these three, right? So now let's try to delete. So I want to delete with the id 2. Let's try. Okay, okay, I still see id 3 has been deleted. Why so we'll have to debug this issue. So I'll just put my logs and check what is happening behind the scenes. Enter. Okay, and then console.log index, if it is there or not. Okay, task.splice. Okay, fine. So now let's quickly rerun our server. Okay, so before that I'll have to again create the task. This is another headache. Okay, fine. So this has been created. Now let's see if all are coming properly. Okay, all are coming properly. Now let's quickly try the delete API. What is going wrong over here? So let's click on delete. Okay, so let's see what came in our console. Okay, I see undefined came in our find task. Okay, so why it happened? Task.filter lm.id is equal to id. We are sending it perfectly, right? Request.body. My bad. It should be request.body.id. It's a small mistake I was making. So that is why error handling is important. I haven't added the error handling because we didn't have much time, but I'll show you guys one example of how to handle the errors. Okay. Okay, so install Node.js. It hello world in Node.js. npm. Okay, fine. So I've added. Now let's refresh. I have these three. Now let's go back to our delete and delete with the id 2. Okay, so now see id 2 has been deleted. 1 and 3 are there. Okay, so I was just making a small mistake. Instead of writing request.body.id, I was just using request.body. That was the issue. Okay, so now your item with the id 2 has been deleted. So similarly, let's say if I want to delete the item with id 1, I'll simply do this and see id 3 is only present. Okay, item 1 with has gone. Okay, so now coming to the error handling part, if I try id 5, see it will throw an error, like not error, but it will not give me a proper response because undefined and all is there. Okay, so these things are there. Like you need to always make sure your error handling is perfect, and all these things actually go inside the try and catch block. So you will have to wrap this inside try. Okay, Otherwise you will have to simply catch error and response dot status 400 dot send something went wrong. Okay, so like this you will have to always try to do things. Yeah, also I'll just show you how. Okay, I'll rerun the server. Okay, and here if I don't send the id, instead of this I send some random thing, no? And if I send okay uh, okay. Fine, there are certain cases where you will get this error. I am not able to replicate that error scenario, but yeah, you should always like wrap your code inside try and catch block so that if any error is there, you can handle it properly. Okay, so I guess that would be all for this session. We have covered the tasks API, we have created the post API to create a task, get API to get all the tasks, put API to edit a particular task, and delete API to delete a particular task. Okay, so we have covered all the things that were supposed to be in this thing. And error handling, as I told you how important it is and how like we face the issue. Okay, so yeah, that was it for all the things that were supposed to be covered in this particular session on Node.js and this bootcamp. So I hope you guys are like capable now to create your own APIs and to send some particular data to your front end. So if you are familiar with how to create a front end application, you can simply create your APIs and make a communication between these two. Okay, so the data handling part you can do it in your backend application, and your front end you can do it in your front end application, and you can communicate both of them. Okay, so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this 3 days boot camp on Node.js. So if yes, then do please do like and subscribe this particular channel. So yeah, thank you so much for bearing me for these 3 days, and I hope to see you guys in my next video.